You whispered something, right? As I don't know why you whispered it, as if the countdown they'd be able to hear us.
I said we have to catch up too.
Yeah, we do. I know. It's
Yeah,
been a minute.
so we're doing it live. We're not live. We're doing it on the pod, which I love about us.
Just living through the pod, huh?
Just living through the pod. We have a very low bar, even if we impact one person positively. So it's like,
Hmm.
why not? Why not use this time to catch up and that's what we're gonna do. But the whole time with the conversation we were just having pre-pod was,
Oh, I like that pre-pod.
yeah, pre-pod. You don't want to pre-pod too much because all the good stuff comes out pre-pod. Um, it's just like back to this importance of community, back to this importance of just being around great people. First of all,
Hmm.
being one of those great people to be around, but that being around great people and just the doors that open and the conversations that happen and that you just wouldn't get on your own. It's just amazing. If you're a good person and you're authentic and you show up to contribute, the doors that open that, like you say, you have to walk through them.
Hmm.
It's really mind blowing to me.
Well, I'm assuming you were gonna go into an example there.
But there's examples everywhere. There's examples everywhere. I almost don't even want to specify one. I can if you want me to. But it's just like you just have to keep raising your hand and you have to ask. You have to pick up the phone, you have to send that email, you have to ask to connect cuz you just don't know where something's going to lead to.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm a really big believer in. Now it's funny though, if everybody does this, it doesn't really work. In building up, well, I guess you can do it all at the same time, but building up so much capital with your friends, like so much kind of uh I don't even know what it is. Just like having so much equity in your relationships
Yeah.
that when you go for the ask, it's
Yeah.
like, oh my God, you've done so much for me. Of course, it's not even a
Yeah.
question. Like whenever, wherever, just yes.
Be
Right. And
valuable.
yeah,
Be valuable. Make yourself valuable. I mean, you already have value as just being a human being, but make yourself valuable. And that doesn't mean giving everything to everyone, but
yeah.
just invest in yourself. Grow, learn, share your failures, share your fears, share your wins. Like that makes you valuable.
Yeah. I saw something great that Fred posted today. Um, it was someone else saying it, but basically, like, you know, when people are showing others on posting stuff on now, I'll caveat this, then yes, there are people that are very braggadocious.
Mm,
But when people are showing their wins, you know, look at this vacation I've been on, or look at this car I have. That's not them bragging. It's just they want to show everybody what winning feels like and what it
yeah,
looks like. And those same people will celebrate the minute that you do that too,
of course.
which is so huge because you know, there's too much jealousy and too much pettiness in the world, and, you know, like, I'm loving watching you winning right now, like, it's just win after win, I feel like, and I'm getting to sit here and have a driver's you know, a passenger seat watching, it's great, and it's
Yeah.
inspiring, and it goes back to that sense of community, right? Like, being around winners, being around people that are gonna lift you up. At the same time, you have to provide some helium too, right, to keep that balloon afloat.
Yeah.
But seeing your people win is great, and it really it pays to be around it. Like you said, that's where the opportunities come.
And it's awesome when people are celebrating you and I have a story, I'll tell it. Um At the same time, those are the same people that when you're not winning, when you fall flat on your face, like, they're also celebrating you. Like, they're like,
Yeah,
"Okay, awesome. All right, what do you need? What do you need from me? What can we do?" Like, that's the win in the relationship. When things are easy, gratitude is easy. When things are easy, relationships are easy.
yeah,
You're right. When you're winning, the people that have the mindset of abundance are there with you. The people that have the mindsets of scarcity, they're never gonna celebrate you because they feel like they have to lose in order for you to win. And when you're
yeah,
failing, They're not like, "Oh, look at this leader took a chance." They're like, "Ha, yeah, good. They deserve," some stupid nonsense.
Yeah.
So I have very, very little empathy when it comes to that mindset, and people can't celebrate other people. Um, it's
Yeah.
wild. And my quick story was I was working at a real estate company up in Cape Cod, and no one knew what I came from. Like, I had come from a crazy situation, right? I have all these crazy situations in my life. And literally started, left a relationship with nothing but a bad country song, basically, like a duffel bag of clothes, my dog, and I grabbed like a couple pieces of jewelry that I sold to like keep myself afloat. And re-got my real estate license up in Massachusetts, and went to work for a company. And I remember I got a listing appointment and I was so excited, and I stood up in my little cubicle and I was like, woohoo. And the manager called me in and he's like, "That's so great. You got a listing appointment. But, if you want to celebrate, come into my office because there's some people out there that, are struggling and they're just not going to be happy for you." And I remember feeling so like ashamed and so defeated and like, oh gosh, like I didn't even think that. And like that's just a terrible place to be. So if you don't have people in your life that you can't celebrate with and win around and fail around, time to get some new
Yeah.
people.
Like, even to me, when I see people doing, having great experiences or riding some wins, even if I feel like they don't deserve it, I'm like, well, good for them. Enjoy
Because
it.
you don't know. Like, thank you. You've been building me up so much over the past couple months, and thank you. And you've certainly seen me through a lot. But those wins that are being posted, I don't post the moments that preceded those wins where I am freaking
Yeah.
terrified. I'm terrified. I'm questioning myself. I'm all the things, all the
Well, that, I
things.
mean, that is true, right? We don't know what the struggle is behind closed doors.
Hmm.
Um, I've come out of situations with people like, I had no idea that was going on.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, because you only see what I want you to see.
yeah,
So yeah, it's
yeah.
easy to fall into that trap too.
And
Yeah,
we don't walk around with, t-shirts that change of like, hey, this is, my child is sick, or I'm going through a separation, or my mother died, or I don't even like to say that. But like we're all going through these things and we don't have a way to broadcast it. And like you just never know what
yeah.
someone is experiencing. Um, and that kind of leads into something that we're going to talk about today, which is the number 2, which is they're not really ranked. One's not higher than another, but we talk about 10 commitments to accountability and being an accountable leader. We believe that, leadership accountability is the highest form of leadership when we talk about accountability the way that we do. But number 2 is this commitment to truth. And I think that's an interesting concept because we just tied it into kind of what's shown on social media and what we even allow people insight into our world on, right? Like,
Well,
it's a big
that's the
conversation.
thing. Is it not being truthful when you post in that way, when you're not showing the struggle on the other side of it? Like, how
I
does
don't
that
think
shake
so.
out?
I don't well, so with this topic, I really like to talk about the difference between truth and transparency.
Yeah,
But I don't think that you need to divulge entire stories and all of the information when you're just delineating a win, right? Like, if I want you to make a decision on something, if I need you to collaborate with me on something, if you and I have a relationship where what's happened is going to impact us, to me, I have a responsibility and an accountability to you to be not only
hmm,
honest but transparent. Um and to me that, I always give like a very quick example. Honesty is you and I are dating, right? And I say, "Oh, I'm going to go out tonight." Well, in your mind, you might like, "Okay, well, I'm glad she's going out, but like who's she going out with? Where's she going?" Not out of jealousy, but like when you care about someone, at least this is how I operate. Like, "Cool, who are you going with? Where are you going to be?" And I don't want to have to ask you that.
yeah,
right? And I'm not questioning you. But for me, that's where transparency kicks in. And it's like, hey, I'm gonna go out tonight. Not asking for permission. Going out tonight. I'm gonna go to Joe Schmo's and I'm going with my girlfriend Renee and my guy friend Rick. Um, that's transparency, right? Honesty is I'm going out tonight. I'm being honest.
Yeah, true.
So it really depends on the relationship or how I want the other person to feel, or if I need someone to make a decision. If I need you to make a decision from something, I need to be as transparent as possible because that's the only way you're going to be able to make a decision. Now, if I'm not being transparent and I'm only giving you the honesty of the facts that I want to give you because I'm trying to sway your decision, to me, that's deception and manipulation.
Yeah. It's me thinking out loud. Can you be transparent without being truthful?
Give me an example. What would that look like? Can you be
I don't know.
transparent? I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I mean, transparency, just for like the definition, I don't have it up, but it's like, complete ability to see through. Something's transparent. You can see through all of it. Um, I think you can be honest without being transparent, 100%. I think, but I don't think
Yes,
you can have it the other way around.
that's right. If transparency kind of requires the whole truth.
Nothing but the truth.
Yeah. Whereas you can give parts of the truth,
hmm
and that's being honest.
Yeah.
And
And
I
you
think one
see
of the
it.
no, go ahead, go ahead.
Or see you people, you see people stand on that platform like I was honest. Yeah, you were honest, but you weren't transparent. Like that's manipulation.
Yeah, yeah, and I think one of the huge things with truth is being truthful to yourself
Mm,
and
mm,
actually owning up to things and really asking yourself, okay, am I being honest with myself here? Like, is that the whole picture, or am I just giving myself a little bit of it to make myself feel better?
mm.
Because that's where a lot of relationships get fractured when we're not honest and truthful to ourselves.
Yeah,
And that's the first person we've got to be truthful to
yeah,
is you,
yeah.
me, I.
Yeah, you can't be transparent with me if you're not being honest with yourself.
Yeah.
You've done so much work in that, and like you talk about it so openly, which I really think is brilliant. And we're not often in a position where we have to be brutally honest with ourselves. Right? Like I really believe like there's someone in my universe right now that has a very bad alcohol addiction. Um and they're like kind of one removed from me. I really
Okay, it's not me.
believe not you, no. And I grew up with a dad who was an alcoholic, and and I've been around other people that were addicts and alcoholics, and I really believe that in their minds, they believe they're being honest, right?
Yeah.
They believe this is the truth because this is what they have been telling themselves for so long. Um, and that's where I think the grain of salt comment comes in. Like there's
Yeah.
certain people, I take their honesty with a grain of salt. It's not that I think they're lying. I actually believe they believe what they're saying because they're that effed up.
Yeah.
Um, so I can't even like I know they're lying, but I actually believe that they're telling the truth because they're so skewed on what the truth actually is. They're so far from what that is.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's I mean, like how do you reconcile that? Like how do you become honest with yourself? It was interesting. Amy kind of mentioned something to me the other day. She was, stressed about something, and she was kind of like, "How do you manage it with like everything going on with your mom and stuff?" And
Mm,
I was actually talking in therapy about it this week, just how I think a lot of people who've been through what I've been through in the last 6, 7 years would have crumbled.
mm,
I mean, like, just to name a few things, going through a divorce, going through lawsuits with a business, ending that business relationship, um, my mom being diagnosed with PSP, my son being diagnosed with autism.
mm.
Like, that's a lot of stuff to kind of handle. And then all of with COVID within the mix of that too, which was, a
Yeah.
fun time for everybody. And, I think my answer was kind of, yes, there's resilience and things like that, but really it's just living with gratitude
Mm,
and just appreciating all the good things I have versus dwelling on the things that I don't have anymore.
yeah.
And somewhere in there is being honest with yourself and saying, okay, look, you might strive for this or you might want the outcomes to be different, but look at what you do have
Mhm.
and use that as your kind of driver and your anchor because then it makes everything else kind of irrelevant,
Yeah.
you know? And I love that. I always go back to, and I know we've kind of deviated away from trust right now, but this
Honesty.
thing Gary Vee said when he was like, I wake up every day and imagine the worst thing possible, like my kid's dying.
Mm.
And then he's like, I know that sounds morbid, but now like my day can't get any worse. Like I've
Yeah.
thought about the very worst thing and it didn't happen. So like
Yeah.
today's a great fucking day.
I don't even like to put like energy into those thoughts, but I totally get the concepts. That's like the question, right? Like if you woke up tomorrow morning and I was in your bedroom and I was like, "Hey, good morning. Congratulations, you're on the wake up list." Like I'm going to give you $1 million today and you can go out and do whatever you want to with it. Like how are you going to feel?
Well, firstly, there was no way you'd be awake before me.
Well, stop it. Play the game.
What do I get? I get $1 million to do
You're getting
whatever.
$1 million.
Oh yeah, let's go. Let's go buy that Porsche.
Okay, nice. So how do you feel? Are you excited to get
Oh
out of
yeah, it's
bed?
great.
Tackle the day? All right, cool. So you did that. Next morning you wake up, you're thinking, I hope she's here again. There I am. And hey, good morning. Congratulations, day 2 on the wake up list. Today, I'm going to give you $10 million. But if you take it, you will not be able to wake up again tomorrow. Do you take it?
Ah, get out of my bedroom, bitch.
Yeah. You just told yourself and me that your day is worth more than $10 million.
Yeah,
So are you treating it that way?
exactly. Exactly.
Um, yes, we always deviate from our topics, but it's all valid. Um, how do we deviate back?
Well, I think it does play into being, being truthful because, we can convince ourselves that things are a certain way when they're not. And then
Yeah,
that leads to your thought patterns and then your behavior kind of spiraling and then you end up being not truthful to other people that you're actually accountable to and
yeah.
accountable for.
Yes. Oh, I love it. Well, and that's that, myself included, right? And we've seen friends in this. We've probably experienced it, you yourself. And I see a lot of clients, right? They're operating in this whirlwind, right? This chaos. And they're so desperate to come out of it, but they're terrified because they know once they slow down, they actually have to look at what's going on in their life.
Yeah.
So it's easier to stay in that chaos. And in the United States, specifically, when you're being productive and you're making money and your business is successful, you can point at that. Well, look at me. Look how successful I am. Well, you might be successful in business, but the moment that chaos slows down and you look at your relationship with your children, with your significant other, with yourself, with your own health, it's like that's all very scary. So no one wants to slow down. One, two, we get to fight for the things that we hold on to, right? Like when someone they're complaining about something over and over and over again, they're doing that because it serves them in some way, shape, or form. It allows them the excuse to act like they want to act. It allows them to not step up as a leader for whatever it is. So if someone's really complaining about something over and over again, I'll just ask, like, where is that serving you?
Yeah.
Right.
Very true.
And they either really dig deep and find where it's serving them and realizing it's just a limiting belief and it's been keeping them safe, but it's actually not serving them. And typically they'll go, what's actually not serving me? Okay, so why are you holding on to it? I don't know. Well, it kept you safe. Even though it was hurting you, it kept you in this comfort zone. So um it's it starts with honesty to you just brought me down that path. It starts with honesty with yourself, true honesty. And then that's the only way that you can be transparent with the people that you're accountable to and accountable for. If you don't have that
I'm
honesty
gonna,
with yourself, yeah.
I'm gonna throw you on the spot here, and I'm
Mm.
like half regretting it because I can't think of an example myself now. But what would you? Because I think, and this plays into the wider point of I think being transparent is the kind of the bedrock of relationships.
Mm.
You know, and I think that's why one of the reasons I've questioned this too, something I've also talked about in therapy. I do a lot of talking in therapy. What it's for. But I think what I've often questioned, like, why am I able to build really close relationships? And I have a thing of I'm able to, and I think it's because of my relationship with my mother and my sisters. Like, I've always kind
Mm,
of had more female friends than male friends. I have very
mm,
close male friends, but I have more female friends.
yeah.
And I think it often comes down to being transparent and being vulnerable. And
Yeah.
I'm willing to be vulnerable, and I'm always transparent about like how I might feel about a situation or just who I am as a person.
Yeah.
Um, but what would you say is so? The reason I'm asking this is I feel like in order for us all to grow together, and perhaps for you to start acknowledging and facing some of your own truths, and that you being the listeners, what would you say is one thing you've had to have a hard look in the mirror and accept a truth about yourself recently that you've either overcome or something you're working on?
Mm.
And I'll share mine because I did just think of it.
I
It doesn't
mean,
have to be crazy deep.
yeah, well, you know me, everything's deep with me. um I'm sorry, I'm stuck on 2 things, because I went to an example where I had to be I had a t something that I had to be really transparent with myself, and really honest with myself, and that was the example that I brought up where I left, like, the Bad Country song with my dog and a few things. Um, there was a lot of monetary, availability, accessibility in that relationship, um and, so to the point of like, private planes, the daily driver was a Ferrari and a Bentley, like, multiple homes, lots of influential people around, and a really, really unhappy, unhealthy relationship. And, you get into a certain, there was years of that. And when I finally left for the final time, I did have to be really brutally honest with myself of like, am I willing to walk away from all of these material things?
Yeah.
And you wanna think, like, of course, right? That shouldn't even be a thought, and ultimately it wasn't. And I remember saying specifically, I would rather live in a shack in the woods than live in with such physical and emotional insecurity in a relationship. But I did have to be really brutally honest with myself because it's, you get used to certain things.
Yeah.
And, so that was that, but the I think the recent thing is, and I'll talk about it because you said either that you've worked on to change. I don't actually want to change this, and this is I maybe accepting it. Like I am an open, trusting person. I believe that people have good intentions, and I have absolutely been taken advantage of many times. I used to beat myself up. I'm too gullible. I'm this, I'm that, but I actually don't want to change it. And this is what I admire about my mom. My mom is not a businesswoman. My mom has been, a homemaker. Every beautiful, caring thing I know how to do, I have learned from my mother. And at 76, she still is like,
Which, by the way, she does not look
no,
at all.
nope. And so giving and so open because she stayed soft on the inside, Paolo. Like,
Yeah.
I see so many women that look so hardened, and you know what? I bet you that they've not gotten taken advantage of as much as my mom has or I have. Um, but when I look at the softness that my mom still has, and approaching my 50s now, which just seems crazy, I'm okay. I'm okay if someone takes advantage of me, or if I give a little bit more than I received, or I did something to help someone and I don't expect it in return. I don't wanna change that about me. And so I'm just accepting, like, I am a trusting person. There's nothing wrong with that. That doesn't make me bad or stupid or not savvy. So, I think that's kind of like an honest thing, 'cause I felt really stupid. I would get in a scenario and be like, "God, I'm such an idiot," and beat myself up about it. Or people be like, "Wow, how could you trust like that?" Well, it's just how I'm wired, and I'm okay with it. I'm not looking to change it.
Yeah, there is something to, and there's a kind of another deviation I want to go in a little bit, but kind of related to that. Just sometimes it's, telling yourself the truth about who you are and not trying to change that, just being
Mhm.
accepting of it.
Yeah.
That's very freeing, right? Like knowing that this is just how you are.
Yeah.
It can make making decisions that much easier, and also dealing with adversity
Yeah.
because this is just who I am. This is, I know I'm going to react this way. I know I'm going to be vulnerable or open to people treating me a certain way, and it's a lot easier to then stop being so like anxious about it happening. You just accept this. I can deal with it, and it's going
Yeah.
to happen because this is who I am.
It's also not an excuse. Like I do a lot
Yeah,
of, as you know, work with like disc assessment, right? People show up as high D, high I, high whatever. It's not who you are. It's part of you, but it doesn't give you an excuse to act a certain way, even though we can identify naturally this is how you collect information. Naturally, you're more direct, blunt, fast paced, slow paced, very analytical. Right? It doesn't give you an excuse to be a jerk, right? But it does
right.
give you an understanding. And I think the same thing applies with honesty and transparency. Like we'll talk about honesty and transparency, and I'll say, but if your wife is in her closet and she's got something on and she says, honey, how does this look? And she knows you love her and it's maybe doesn't look the best or there's something else that you might prefer and she's in her closet and you've got time. Say, oh, it looks great, but I really love that red dress on you or whatever. She has the opportunity to change. Be honest and transparent in there. If you are in the car 2 minutes from the restaurant, there is no way she can go get changed. And she says, how do I look tonight? Do not say, you look terrible. You should have worn the red dress. That is not the time to be honest and transparent. So I hate to give caveats with it, but I think the power of honesty and transparency, whether it's with yourself or with someone else, or in the power of understanding how you communicate, comes with the ability to have care and candor. Like, you can't have candor with someone if they don't know that you care about them. So
Yes.
I think you earn that ability. And you got to let people like, people don't ask because they know I'm going to tell them like it is. There's ways to deliver information, right? If you don't like someone's haircut, you're gonna be like, you look like an idiot. I hate your haircut. There's there's other ways
Yes.
to answer and be honest. So that's a whole other conversation. But
I was gonna say that being truthful doesn't mean you get to be a dick.
yeah, or hurt people.
A lot of people, yeah, that really rings true. People kind of say, I'm just direct or I'm assertive.
Right.
Like, no, you're just being a dick.
Right. Right.
There's a nice way of being truthful
Right.
when you know it's going to impact how someone feels about themselves.
Yeah.
Um, and this it came up earlier when we were talking about our, being in good part of a good community, and it kind of does come down to being truthful. I think, I love that the idea of the saying of, you want to be friends with people who stick up for you when you're not there.
Mm.
And
Fight
that
for
really
you
is
in the
being,
rooms that you aren't in.
yeah, and
Yeah.
that's really being truthful to who you are and what your relationship is with that person.
Yeah.
Um, and there's a in some of the kind of online communities, shall we say, there's a kind of a theme of like you shouldn't talk shit about your partner to your friends,
Mm.
which I kind of agree with. I think you need to give each other space to be able to vent about each other.
Sure.
Although having said that, I'm not really in a relationship now where I need to vent about anything. Like
Yeah.
we
Well,
kind
that's
of
the
just
real question. If you're in a
that, yeah,
relationship
I
where you
guess, if you're
constantly
yeah, I'm kind of answering my own question there, or making my own statement that when you're able to be honest with each other, you don't argue anymore because you just
Yeah.
tell each other what your expectations are, fulfill
Yeah.
them. If they're not fulfilled, you
Yeah.
kind of work on that. But yeah, I think there is something about being truthful about your relationships and sticking up for people. It could be very easy to crumble and be like, just join in on the bashing of someone, or just like, yeah, like how people talk shit about Fred
Yeah.
in the industry, right? Like I haven't been privy to that, but some of the circles you are in, that happens, right? And it's like you could just be like, yeah, that fucking douchebag, but instead you're like,
No.
no, like you stick up for your friends, and that's
Absolutely.
being truthful to your relationships, and if it's a big commitment, right? Like it can be easy to pile in on someone.
Well, it's one of the commitments, the 10 commitments of accountability we'll get to is like I will stand by you when all hell breaks loose,
Yeah,
right? And that's whether you're in the room or not in the room. Um, the relationship conversation that you just brought up, to me, it's very different. I think it's extremely healthy to be able to have close friends that you can have open conversation with them around what's going on in your relationship. And I think that specifically if you're having a challenge that you're really having problems overcoming something, or you're really not being able to communicate, that's a very different conversation. I'm coming to you because I'm looking for advice because I want to make things work, versus I'm coming to you and I'm throwing my partner under the bus, or it's like, look what he did or look what she did. And
Yeah.
I despise when people throw each other under the bus in front of people, like, or belittle their partner in front of people. Like, oh, that's just our relationship. I'm uncomfortable even being around that. Like,
Yeah, it's unattractive.
it's not, and it's just like, I wanna know you have my back because I know what it feels like to be used as the scapegoat, to be used as the kind of buffer, um, and yeah, like, I think you need to have the relationships where you can have good conversation, but this is not just like a complaint session about your partner,
Yeah.
and if you're complaining about your partner that much, then there's something much deeper that's going on.
Well, and also, if you're gonna complain about the person you share a bed with every night,
Mm,
what are you saying about me behind your back, behind my
mhm,
back?
mhm, yep,
I mean, it makes you see things through a different lens when you kind of start thinking, yeah, actually, well, if they're not being truthful about that, or if this is how they are, how do they look, when they're looking at me, what's the lens they're looking through, and what are they
yeah.
saying about me?
That brings up the word authenticity as well. I think people, one of the reasons you're able to develop such good, strong, close relationships and pretty quickly through your willingness to be vulnerable and transparent, is that we are bombarded with so much, AI, computer, television, radio, everything that's coming at us. I think people's BS meter has gotten more heightened, and like the
Yeah,
surface level stuff, like we just don't have time for it. We have so much coming at us that if it's not going to be a deeper relationship, it's like I don't have the energy to put into it. And if I can tell you're not being authentic with me and you're not being honest with me, you're not being open with me, like I might work at it a little bit to help you feel comfortable with me, but if, like, that's just how you operate, I'm not here for it. I
yeah.
have too many people that I don't get to get enough time with that I love and adore. Why would I spend time with someone that's not willing to go beyond the surface level with me?
So here's one kind of thing to ponder is I think there are people who are just pathological liars, right?
Mm.
And you know that's like the number one thing for me when it comes to authenticity and accountability. Like I say it all the time, if you go out and tell people what to do and then you don't do it yourself, or you lie about what you do, even worse,
Mhm.
there's not doing it and then there's lying about doing it, and we've all got those people in our lives like that. That's one thing. But oh, I just lost my train of thought. Unbelievable. Going to be a good one too. Oh, so but there is I think a cohort of people that they want to be truthful,
Mm.
but they're afraid of I guess the confrontation it might bring about by being
Absolutely.
honest about something.
Yeah.
So what kind of advice can we give to people trying to navigate that? Because that can lead to people lying, not because they want to lie, but because they want to avoid upsetting someone or
Yes.
avoid starting an argument.
Yes. There's so much on that, but the first thing that's coming to my mind is just about creating emotional safety. Like if you I'll just go back to partners. If you have to lie or omit any part of your truth to your partner or a close friend, it's one of two things. One, you did something really bad that you know was wrong, and it's potentially going to cause a break in the relationship. Or two, your partner has not created an environment where you can have an emotional safety. Like you can come to me even with the bad stuff, and my commitment is to communicate with you, right? And to not jump to conclusions and to not assume and to allow us to have a conversation around this. it's very normal and natural to not want to break rapport, right? We are creatures of community. We are not isolated animals. So anytime something happens where we could be rejected, it's a very scary space. Um some people get very direct, some people retreat, some people get very passive aggressive. Some people will start to like play the blame game. Like, let me find something you did that's worse than what I did, so
Yeah,
that I'll bring it out, and then I'll, say what I did. Again, manipulation. But if it's just, I think, trusting in the relationship, like you said, you've built a lot of good juju, right? In your friendship buckets, you've brought a lot of value to people. You've done what you could to help and contribute. Relying on that and knowing that if the relationship is meant to be, that honesty is what it deserves, and it's gonna be a safe place for it. Doesn't mean that there's not gonna be a response or that you might not upset someone, but that's that commitment to working through it, talking through it, whether it's a coworker, whether it's a friendship, or whether it's a partnership. Um, and also knowing that it may end in the break of the
yeah,
connection, or it may build it stronger. But if you lie, my grandmother always said, it's like an ant, right? Like, you lie once, it's an ant on your back, and then you have to keep telling more lies to cover up those lies. Um, and then you end up with this, like, I don't know, I just pictured like an ant with a whole bunch of legs on my back. I never wanted that. But knowing no one can make a decision, you have to trust the other person enough to give them the truth so that they can actually make a real decision based off of what's factual.
yeah,
Trust them enough that they can handle it, right? We have that favorite famous movie quote, you can't handle the truth. Um, trust that people are capable, of it, of taking it in. Does that answer you?
yeah. And I think there's definitely ways of kind of disarming people before you have difficult conversations.
Oh,
Of
sure.
leading with some praise or leading with some transparency on your end about maybe something you've where somewhere you've gone wrong in the relationship or in a certain task or a project or whatever the
Yeah.
what do you call it
Timing, environment, asking permission, those are all really key things to starting any conversation that might be a little bit tense.
yeah. But while you were talking, I was also thinking, there are situations where not telling the truth or not being upfront about stuff is necessary because you have to protect yourself in some areas.
Okay.
Um, I'm thinking of things like if, let's say, like someone who is interviewing for a job somewhere else, or even within a business is looking to move into a different department and is
Mhm.
having those conversations and not including the person that they directly report to.
Mhm.
There's kind of a necessity to not be truthful there because of
Yep.
the chain of reactions from
Yep.
it. Um,
Well, because you don't have a space of emotional
yeah,
safety with that other, but you can't go to that leader and say, "Hey, I wanna look at, something else." Now, a true leader, if they're meant, to develop you,
yeah,
which was commitment number 1, they're
yep,
gonna go, "Oh gosh, I hate to lose you. However, you've been amazing and I wanna see you grow, and you know what? I'm actually gonna give you a letter of recommendation." But we go into self-preservation mode because unfortunately not everyone operates that way.
yeah. I love Netflix's CEO. I don't love him as a person, but I love his take on this, that he encourages the employees of Netflix to always go out and interview for jobs,
Yeah.
because if they get one and their offer is to be paid more
Mhm.
than what they're making at Netflix, they can
Mhm.
turn around and say, "This is what I'm worth to the market.
Yep.
And is this what you're going to pay me that?" And that he'll adjust their wages, or if he doesn't feel like they're worth that much, he'll say,
Yep.
"No, you should go and take that."
Mhm.
Which I think is a great. But that goes back to you've created the space as a leader for truth, and I guess that's what this kind of commitment to truth really boils down to, right? Is it's not just being truthful, but it's also creating a safe space for people to be truthful
Yeah.
with you.
Yes. and it's specifically being truthful when it's hard, right? No
Yeah.
matter how hard it is. Um, and we can have all the real life scenarios, and we always have justifications and excuses
Yeah.
for why we didn't tell the truth. Um, but the fact is that we still chose not to tell the truth.
Yeah, and I think,
Um,
I can think of some situations in my life where telling people the truth, it's like I don't care enough about that person or that relationship to to be tell it's not even like that you're lying to them, but it's just
mhm,
like maybe something that they probably need to hear.
mhm.
It's like I don't care enough about you to be the one to deal with that truth coming from my mouth.
Right,
You know
right.
what I mean? So, it really is there is something to like who you're committing to being a leader to or to being accountable to
Yeah.
when it comes
Yes.
to this.
And it's not just about like dropping a truth bomb, right? Like that's what I just saw.
Yeah,
Like you come in, you drop this bomb of truth, and then you run away. Like that's not what this is about. This is about coming in, being truthful, being honest, and then staying to either fix what you brought, or if I'm saying like Paolo, you're really the truth is you're not performing. Right? And I know when you're not performing that you're not providing for your family. Like it's beyond that. It's not me just telling you some truth bomb and being like fix it. It's about me staying by your side and saying, "What's going on?
yeah.
How can I help you?"
Yeah, and here's a little twist. And I think a cool kind of perspective I just thought of with truth is, I know people talk shit about me in some respects, and there was a lot of, especially around me and Amy's divorce, a lot of kind of hearsay and accusations that just weren't true, but everyone likes a story and likes it
Yeah.
to be more dramatized. Um, and my thing was always, I know the truth, God knows the truth. Like, I don't feel that because there were people that were like, you need to defend yourself. I don't care. Like, I
Yeah.
know what the truth is, and that's that.
Yeah.
And, there was fairly recently, I know of someone who I was kind of close with many years ago, bumped into someone that is kind of someone I know and friendly with, but they know one of my good friends, and that person started talking shit about me, saying I'm a bad person. And I'm like, I felt no need. Of course, it's never nice to hear that shit, but
Right.
I felt no need to like stand up for myself or go and say something to that person like, "I heard you talking shit about me," because again, I know the truth,
Yeah.
and I think that's something we've got to commit to is just knowing. It comes back to like knowing what the truth is
Yeah.
and
Well, I
just
like the power of
accepting that I know the truth. I don't need to go
yeah.
out there and defend myself.
No, you can stand in your truth. And
Yeah,
I think that's the most powerful place to be. I remember after my divorce and I moved to Basking Ridge and then I moved back here, I got a Facebook message from someone, that I would use the term friend a little bit, like not a close friend, but friend, acquaintance. Sent me a Facebook message. I want you to know everyone's talking about you, this, and this, but I'm not contributing to it. Hope you're good. Something like that. And I was like, you sent me a message to tell me that people are talking about me, but that to let me know that you're not contributing to it. Well, guess what? If you're sitting there and saying nothing, you are contributing to it. Whatever you allow in your space, you condone. So if you're in
yeah,
a room and people are talking badly about someone or people are being inappropriate about something that you don't agree with and you're keeping your mouth shut thinking you're not contributing it to it, no, you are 100% condoning it.
yeah,
So whatever you allow in your space, you condone. You are contributing to it. Thanks for the message to let me know that you're not. Um but old me, and maybe this is true for you, I would have been like, who is it? I'm going to call and set them straight or whatever. And now I'm like, I know what the truth is.
yeah. Exactly.
I
That's
don't
what I'm
need to look
saying.
like a hero to anybody but my family and the people that I care about.
Yeah, and that's funny the way that that woman acted there is kind of like you were oblivious to that negative energy,
Yeah.
and it's like she scooped up a big ball of it and just dumped it on your lap.
Made
Like
me
now
feel
you deal
crappy.
with this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, but I'm not doing it. So she was like
yeah.
trying to make
But
herself look good.
that was her contribution. Number
Yeah.
one, staying quiet, and then number two, she dumped it on you,
Yeah.
and that was her guilt. And again, that someone is not being truthful with themselves.
Yeah.
That is then uh, projecting onto you.
Yeah. And then I'm like, you know what? I love it. People are talking about me. It means I'm still relevant. Like,
Yeah.
I've been out of the game how long, and, like, and you're still talking about me? Like, okay, I must have done something right.
Well, and someone said, I won't say who it was because they're very polarizing online, but
Mhm.
he was saying, all these people are talking about him and he doesn't even know who you are. I don't know who you are.
Right.
I don't know your name, but you were talking about me. You were putting my name out there, and I'm just collecting all of your energy. I'm just collecting all of it. You're giving it to me,
Yeah,
and I'm not giving any of it to you.
yeah.
And that's that really is true.
Ooh, I just thought about another level that I can't talk transparently about, but I'm gonna give the overall gist, and I want your thoughts on it, and maybe we come back to it. When children are involved.
Yeah,
So Ben and I had a scenario. There was something shared with his children about him and I that was truthful, but not appropriate for children to be thinking about. Shared from another adult, and like it infuriated me. It wasn't that it was a lie, but it was completely inappropriate for a child to even be presented with. So again, there's another caveat to truth and honesty when it and how you're delivering it. And
yeah,
are you using the truth to just support yourself and make yourself look good, like that person who emailed me, like this
yeah.
adult who said this to the children? Are you using honesty as a tool to make yourself look good? Or are you using honesty to actually forge and help and be purposeful in your accountability in a relationship? It can be used both ways.
Yeah, it can, but then I don't know if it's really the truth there.
Mm,
I guess it could be, right? Like you can use the truth to beat someone down, like someone who has acted in a negative way in the past, or you know their reputation before. Maybe they had drinking problems or drug problems or something, and then you throwing that in their face all the time.
mhm.
That
Mhm.
yeah, I mean that's just
Yeah,
it
what's
just
your
makes you a
intention?
shit face,
Are
really.
you trying to help the relationship? Are you coming from a place of contributing positively to the relationship, or are you coming from a place to make yourself look better? Or are you coming from a place to manipulate?
Yeah. Well, that comes down to looking at yourself and questioning, are you being truthful?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Such a big conversation, but I hope that our listeners will take away the difference between truth, honesty, and transparency. Um and and really making sure that you are creating those safe spaces for the people that you care about, that you want them to have open conversation with you, that they are emotionally safe spaces to have these conversations.
I would say that's the biggest one for me.
Yeah.
Because I think in relationships I've struggled with, and I'm not talking romantic ones,
Mhm.
that's often been the biggest thing is that the other person hasn't created a space for, and I know it's not just me because other
Mhm.
people have had the same issue with
Yeah.
them. They haven't been open to the truth,
Yeah.
and that just creates a whole toxic soup of,
Yeah.
no one being upfront, and then people get away with bad behavior, and then it's just this vicious cycle that no one can ever get out of.
Yep.
So yeah, I think that to me, out of all the things we've talked about today, is really the big one. Is what are you doing? Because yes, commit to the truth, being truthful, being honest. But the big thing is, how are you showing up in all of your relationships, and have you created a space for those people to be truthful to you?
Yeah.
That really is, to me, a commitment that you have to make, because otherwise you're not going to foster a blossoming relationship.
Yeah.
There's going to be at some point there's going to be a fracture.
Yeah. And that safe space doesn't mean not honoring yourself or not having integrity. It doesn't mean that someone can come to you with all the honesty and do really terrible things and just be honest about it and that
Yeah,
you accept it. But it is like that I'm not going to fly off the handle, I'm
yeah.
not going
I'm not going to
to
be judgmental.
react, right? Or physically. I mean, there's people that
Yeah,
physically respond. So start with the people that are closest to you and asking if you are doing what you can to create a safe space, and it often becomes this double-edged sword. Like, I want this person to come to me with this, but every time they do, I react a little crazy and then I calm down, but they're going to not want to keep coming to me with that, and then I'm going to be upset that they weren't honest with me.
Yeah.
So like we create these environments that work against ourselves. It's high level. It's not easy work.
Oh, there's layers to it. I was just thinking of some examples of like I know people don't like to talk to me about things health wise when I take a completely different stance from the mainstream narrative.
Right.
And that's because but it's actually, you know, how open are you being to the truth?
Yeah.
You know, that when I'm saying it, I get a reaction, so then I therefore react to that, and then
Yeah.
it's just like it's the same with politics. So many people are seemingly incapable of hearing other people's truths around
Mm.
politics,
There can be
and
two
it's
truths too.
there can be two
Yep.
truths. Like I'll just say it: the Ukraine war, it doesn't have to
Mhm.
be a good and a bad guy. There are two bad guys in that war.
Mhm.
You know, that's the truth.
Mhm. That's the conversation of being able to have communication without the intention of convincing the other person to your way of thinking by the end of the conversation,
Yeah.
right? We can just share our truths together, and then each person takes with them what they want, what they choose. That information meets them where they're at that moment in time. And maybe it sparks a different way of thinking. Maybe someone does change their mind. Maybe we just open up to like, huh, never thought about it that way. Doesn't change my truth. But there are often more than one truth, and that's where it just comes back to intentions.
Hmm.
Intentions and what you want the relationship to look and feel like. And it all starts with your favorite thing, being honest with yourself. Really looking at like where you are or not being honest with yourself right now. And you know where it is.
Hmm. I love that. That's a good place to finish.
Mm. Shall we say goodbye?
Well, it's not my job to do that. So.
Until next time, friends. Bye for now. How do we deviate back?
Well, I think it does play into being, you know, being truthful because